Hello, everybody. Figured it was time for a quick catch up vlog of sorts. Just to let you guys know what's going on. Um, so first off, I have to say, I have to give huge props to my husband because, my, how do I say this? My Apple account My Apple account on my phone is different than my Apple account on here on my MacBook. And so the other day, a couple days ago, I noticed that my 'cause I have like a certain iCloud plan, um, and some of the stuff. 'Cause on MacBook, they have like iCloud and you can store things in the cloud. Well, apparently my iCloud subscription had expired, which I wasn't aware was going to do. And so, because I thought it was just going to redo, like automatically renew, but for some reason it expired. So, what happened was I had, um, Keith helped me. Um, he helped me set up a family sharing to kind of link up my MacBook and my iPhone. And so that basically helps, but on the negative side, it also took up a lot more storage space. So earlier this week, I had to go through and basically clean out all my videos, clean out some old photos, that kind of thing, on both my computer and my phone, and I'm not done yet. So but yeah, so basically I have to keep on top of my usage of my iCloud storage because for some reason iCloud and QuickTime Player, which is what I use for all my recording videos purposes, they're connected. So basically, now I have to really keep on top of that on both my phone and my thing. But hopefully, fingers crossed, that should do the trick, and I should be able to share the data, the iCloud data from my phone on my laptop. Should be, hopefully. If it doesn't, I may end up having to take it down to there's an Apple store in Exeter, so I may have to walk down there at some point with my laptop and say, help me fix this, please. And hopefully they can do that. But for the time being, this should work. Um, so again, sorry about that. Kind of left me in a panic mode for a little bit. I was like, because it of course happened when Keith was off at work, and so I was like, I don't know what to do. And then Keith came home, and And I asked him and I said, hey, can you help me with this? And he figured it out, and so we got the two electronic devices synced up so they can share iCloud data and stuff, which kind of sucks because, like, I get it, when you want but at the same time, it's like, really? Why can't I just have, you know, like have normal storage? Like like I can click on my little Apple icon, bring it down, and it's, lets me know I have regular storage. So I have regular storage, but then I have iCloud storage, and that's different, and yet the same, and yet it's somewhat necessary, and I'm just kind of confused, and so, yeah. Um, but as far as I'm aware, we got that figured out, and I do have 28 days now, so if it ends up totally going away, maybe I can go down to the Apple Store and just double check, make sure everything's good and all that. But yeah, so that's the explanation of that situation. But like I said, hopefully we're good now. Hopefully we're back to normal, and stuff. So the other bit of good news I have to say is, because I just basically I was unsure how to request my prescriptions because it's been a while. I haven't had my blood drawn lately, although I just had my blood drawn like about a couple months ago. So so I was like, well, what do I do? That kind of thing. So it turns out, and I was just unsure because I'd heard that there's a way of doing it online, but you need to have a username and password, and I've never gotten that. So I was like, I don't know what to do. And like the other day, yesterday actually, I was like, well, maybe I'll walk down there, see what's going on, see what I need to do, because there was something about, giving your ID to like the front desk, and then they give you the username and the password. Well, it turns out, because I tried calling my GP, and they have, how doctor's offices are, they have the intro message, and they have, please listen to this closely, blah, blah, blah. And they had a message on there that was like, we don't accept prescriptions over the phone, but, we have, you can go online to our website and do what's called patient triage. And so, which I had seen, but I assumed it was just for leaving messages for like the nurse or whatever, or, leaving messages if you have questions. about things, that kind of stuff. So I was like, we'll try it. So I went on to the patient triage site, which is on the St. Leonard's GP, and it was easy peasy. Easy peasy. They had options that you could pick, including one for like a doctor's note, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, because working retail as I have, I've had that where it's been like, well, you need a doctor's note in order to miss your shift and blah blah blah. Or we understand you're sick, but can you get us a doctor's note so that we know you're really sick or whatever? And so, but they had that, and then a little bit down the page, they had a request repeat prescriptions. So I went on there, typed in all my medications and the dosage that each one of them were. Let me put it this way. I did that just shortly after 8 o'clock because they're open from like 8 till 6 UK time, of course. And then I got verification code, which I had to enter. So I did that about whatever. I got a message at 10 basically saying thank you for your patient triage. Please be advised your request has been passed to the doctor. And then at 11:57, I get a message from Boots, which is the pharmacy I go to. Hi, we've received your prescription. Please wait and we'll notify you when it's ready. And I have to say how so much easier it is than, because I'm so used to, in America with my previous doctors, it's number one, everything is basically up to the patient. The patient has to keep track of where they are with their prescriptions and whether they need more, which makes sense. But then, one thing that just bugs me about the way they do it in America is they don't seem to want to embrace technology. And it's because usually how it works is you realize, oh, I'm running low on my prescription or I'm getting ready to run out in a couple weeks. So what you gotta do is you gotta call in, you gotta call the doctor's office, which also keep in mind they're extremely busy on Mondays and Fridays. So you gotta keep track of when you call, and you've gotta call you gotta call the doctor's office. You gotta make an appointment because, of course, they gotta see you. I mean, I remember way back in the day, in certain circumstances, if you were on a regimen of medication, you didn't necessarily need to be seen every 3 months, but then it gets to the point, oh, we gotta see you every 3 months. Even though you haven't noticed anything different, you don't have any side effects, Nothing like that, but we still need to see you. So you have to go into the doctor's office, see the doctor, and then get your blood drawn, and and then you have to wait, and depending on whatever, depending on your medication and stuff, sometimes it takes a while to get to be seen, sometimes it takes a while to, you know, get your medication, and then, usually you have to, like, I remember times I've had to call Walgreens, which was my old pharmacy, and be like, have you gotten the refill request? They basically leave it mostly up to the patient to manage their stuff, their medical stuff. And so, I don't know, I just find it really interesting. I mean, it's so much easier over here. And like you can go onto the website and request it that way. Or you can go on the NHS side and request it that way. I even figured out you can go to Boots. You can go to the Boots website and request your medications. And to me, that's just like so many options. Number one. And number two, so very cool. Um, but yeah, so I'm just really excited about that. And so now I'm just waiting. It'll probably take them at least a couple of days up to process the medications and stuff. Since I have four of them that I that I take. But but yeah, so what's really cool is that I have more than enough to get me through next week and then the week after, or at least partly. So, and hopefully before then, I'll get the text message from Root saying, hey, your prescription's ready, you can come pick it up. But other than that, I've had kind of a busy week. I went and did laundry one day this week, went down to the laundrette that's just down the road from us. Um, I went to the co-op store, which I hadn't been to in a while. Browsed around in there, got some stuff. Um, and I'm also very excited because I was planning on making there was a meal that mom taught me how to make, which is meatballs stroganoff. You make the little meatballs. Well, we always did them frozen, but I have ground beef in the fridge, and so I'm gonna do that later. Make up some meatballs and stuff, and then you just combine like cream of mushroom soup. Um, may have to have a little bit of milk. May have to get milk on the shopping list. Um, 'Cause yeah, milk's probably needed. But, just takes like cream of mushroom soup, a little milk, garlic, some onion, and yeah, we're good. So, and some noodles, of course. Usually we make them with like the big egg noodles, but I have they're more like ramen noodles, but like dry. They come in like a circle. And so I'll just put them in there, cook them up, that kind of thing. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. There's been a lot of ups and downs, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm also kind of really excited because, things are going fairly well. And also, I don't have to go down and get my blood drawn again. I can just get the prescriptions and all that. So, very excited about that. Oh, before I forget, um, I am thinking, because I do want to continue with Nine in the Woods, and I am planning on probably tomorrow uploading the next bit of that, the next part of that playthrough and all that. Um, but I am also thinking about, and I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, but I want to do a replay of Night in the Woods, or at least edit it down to the parts um that are like show you how you can use Booksmart as one of your traits, and that will help you totally avoid the help you totally avoid that. Like, you can fight for yourself, you can defend yourself against the trial at the end of the haunting, and you can get Charles Shaw Jr. to go into the light without forcing you or Tabitha to give up years of your life. So I kind of wanted to show you guys how to do that, but I also was thinking, and I was trying to decide, but I'm also trying to decide because, like I said, there are so many options or trades, and there's so many combinations that work well together, if that makes sense. So, like, I want to use one of my traits as imposing presence because, number one, you can combine it with street smart and actually get into the room where the piano music is coming from at the beginning of the, you know, once Tabitha leaves you alone before you go to town. And also there's a way apparently that you can decline Stella's invitation, but that you can go into the woods and run into Duke first, who you guys may remember is the old guy, um, who's trying to protect his chickens against being stolen. And then we'll find out what's stealing them is the ditchling. And that's the other thing that I kind of find interesting. Is that Sybil, every time you talk to her about the ditchlings, she's always like, oh, they don't mean any harm themselves. They're just here to announce doom. And it's like, okay, one problem with that, Sybil. They are snatching up creatures and they are implanting, like, I assume it's kind of like we get to talk with Kanika, where she's assuming that they're like maybe doing a parasitic kind of like a mockingbird kind of type situation where it's like I'm gonna plant my baby in you, and the baby, I'm assuming, ditchling comes out. Which also brings up an interesting point, because technically there have been, either Duke or Gretchen dies, night one. Um, Day two, either Rosalina loses her foot, or we leave behind Becca and Alexis, which is a tragedy. And then three, of course, is a haunting, and if either we as a player or Tabitha give up years from life, then that's a tragedy. And then four is whatever happens with Reese, Reese discovering what he is, and discovering the whole mystery with that, and whichever way that turns out. That's 4 days. We still have 3 days left. Because, like I said, if we arrive on Monday, and that first night is the night either Duke or Gretchen dies, then we have Tuesday, which is at the mines, and the issue with Rosalina or two of the other teens being trapped. 3 is the haunting. 4 is Reese. So we still have, that's Thursday. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We still have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Sunday's supposed to be the funeral, and I'm willing to bet that's the climax. That's when everything happens. So, what if the ditchlings are making more of themselves because they know that it's going to keep getting worse and worse depending on what happens, and they're making more of themselves because, if I remember right, Sybil says something about how the more of them there are, the bigger the disaster is. So that makes me wonder if that's why they're making a bunch of themselves. They're making more of themselves and using the animals to do so. So, and also, I don't remember if we did this in our first playthrough, but there's a part at the start of day 4 where Avery, if you developed a good enough relationship with them, they will come up to meet you, and they will walk back to town with you, and you guys can talk about the ditchlings, and a very good point is brought up. Do ditchlings just use animals to make more of themselves? Or would they move on to eventually, like if they run out of animals, would they start laying their eggs or whatever in human beings? And I don't know, I don't know if we'll find, I don't know if we'll get all our questions answered. But I also want to say I think it's kind of cool how the farther on we go, the more side quests we accumulate. Because, like, we get the one, we get one if we go to the church and talk to the pastor. Um, Especially if we have talked animals as one of our traits. Um, we can talk to the pastor and he will let us know that he thinks his daughter might have inherited his gift because she's mentioned talking to rats inside the church and that they might be a bad influence on her and all that. So I think we'll have that as a side quest um later on later on. And we might also possibly have a side quest to go into the woods because there's this huge island of like junk and stuff. And there might be a side quest to like gather everyone around and start cleaning up the mess and everything. Trying to think what other side quests we've learned about. Well, it depends. Like night 4, if we end up let like if we end up either letting Reese roam free or helping Dr. Kelly lock Reese into the room. I think there might also be a way of coming back to visit him, or like I said, if we let him run free, if we let him be free and loose, we might have a side quest later on with that. There also might be a side quest with the strike, um, seeing the conclusion of that, how that ends up. Um, but there's just a lot of little things, and there's the part with Big Betty and Bo and or Duke thinking that their neighbor Julius Tremaine has stolen, but Julius himself has not been seen in town the last couple days. So there's a question of what happened to Julius. Did he get snatched by somebody? Is he hiding in this house because he's afraid of whatever? So I think there's a lot of opportunities for like side quests later on. Like when chapter 5 comes out, I'm curious to see what the main quest is going to be. Because so far it's been different. Every day it's been a different quest. And so I'm just curious about that. But yeah, so I do plan on uploading that. Just not sure when, because it's Thursday now, and and then we have Friday. I don't know if we'll have Dungeons and Dragons on Saturday. Because apparently Ash and Nikki are making plans to go out of town for Easter, but I don't know if they're going to be leaving before Easter or whatever. So, but I will let you guys know about that, more information I have about it. But yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know what I was thinking. Um, I do plan on continuing with Night in the Woods. That is starting to get very interesting. And, but yeah, I did want to do at least show you the bits and pieces of using imposing presence and either street smart or book smart. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, but yeah, so anyway, I will let you guys know the more info I find out, and yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.